Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of the KeenGamer podcast. My name is Kyle, and once again, I got a great panel of people here for you. First, let me welcome back to the show, Mark. Mark, how are you doing today?
Hey, Kyle, I'm great, thanks. Thanks for having me again.
Of course, and welcome back to the show, Noah.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Good to be here.
Of course. So, we are, of course, here to talk about all the games that we're playing. We have some news items to talk about later in the show, including that awful GTA trilogy, everything announced at the Xbox 20th anniversary event, and of course, Jeff Keighley's Game of the Year nominees. And at the very end of the show, the three of us will be talking about our favorite Pokemon games, whether it's core, spin off. We're going to kind of just celebrate Pokemon in this episode. And the only way to really start that is to talk about the newest release, which is Pokemon Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond. Unfortunately, I'm the only one who has played the game. Noah was supposed to get his copy on Friday, but as things go during a pandemic, things are arriving 5 days later, 6 days later. So I finally had the chance to boot it up a couple of days ago, and I've taken down the first boss. And in full transparency, I don't know if I've said this on the show before, but this is my first Pearl and Diamond adventure. When I was a kid, I loved Red and Blue. I loved Silver and Gold. I was getting a little burnt out by Ruby and Sapphire. And by the time Diamond and Pearl had released, I was pretty much Pokemon fatigued at that point. So I'm playing it now for the first time, and I'm really enjoying Sinnoh. It's Sinnoh, correct? I want to make sure I'm
I think it's, Sinnoh.
Sinnoh, sorry. Sinnoh region. I just want to compliment that area first. I'm liking it a lot. I'm liking just the it's got a lot of nature in it, which I really appreciate. It's not as city oriented as other games I played, where even in Silver and Gold, you have the third gym, which is in this giant sprawling city that I can't remember the name of. But yeah, any questions about the remakes from you guys? Because I know you guys have played the original, so I'm definitely taking the floor right now.
Well, from my side, yeah, from what I've heard about them, they are quite faithful remakes, and I think I am at that stage, like you mentioned, is you sometimes get that bit of Pokemon fatigue.
Yeah.
So yeah, so no, yeah, you did say it is quite naturey. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't really have a lot of questions about
I
the
really
beginning part of
enjoyed
the game.
one of the first things that the game has you do is go off to a lake to go look for a shiny red Gyarados. And not many Pokemon games I played start off with this mini adventure within the adventure. So,
All right.
so
I remember
leading,
that now.
yeah, there's a path you can take. There's no tall grass. You have no Pokemon in the beginning of the game. It's just you and your rival or your best friend, however you want to classify them. Watching the TV, there's a news report about a shiny red Gyarados hidden somewhere in the world. And then you guys go on the hunt to find it. And that's where you stumble upon Professor Rowan and Dawn and a briefcase full of Pokemon. And you can choose one of three. I feel like I'm maybe already regretting my choice of Piplup. I didn't realize until post choosing that there's not a lot of fire type Pokemon in this game, apparently. I've heard that Diamond and Pearl don't have a lot of electric types or fire types in them. I could be wrong, but I think Shinx is almost the main electric type for this generation.
Yeah, I remember. Shinx and also fire types. I think when you get to the mountainy region, if I'm not mistaken, that's where you start running into a few fire types. But luckily, we've got things like trading that can help you with that.
Exactly. Between Wonder Trades and even my partner is playing Brilliant Diamond, so if for some reason she can get me a Chimchar egg or something, that'd be great for my team. But I chose Piplup, and I had some logic behind it, where he's going to be one of the starters in Pokemon Legends Arceus. So I thought, let me do a Piplup run with this game. That way, when the new one comes out in January or February, I'll be choosing between Rowlet and Cyndaquil, because I'm doing my Piplup adventure right now. Maybe I should have chose Chimchar in Pearl and Piplup in Arceus. We'll see if that bites me in the butt. But I never played with Rowlet in Sun and Moon, so I'm thinking that's where I'll go towards in Arceus. And honestly, I love the penguin. Penguins are one of my favorite animals. So when I see a penguin Pokemon, it's really hard for me to not choose that one.
Yeah, Piplup was I think when I first played Diamond and Pearl, I also chose Piplup. And also, I think there's so many water type Pokemon that yeah, it does feel like a bit of a bad choice sometimes, but
Hmm.
hey, I mean, he gets that cool steel typing, water steel typing when he grows up,
Yeah, no,
which is quite
my
neat.
Piplup evolved last night. I didn't, and it learned Metal Claw, and I was like, wait, is Piplup going to be Water Steel? Because I knew Infernape was fire fighting. I want to say because most starter fire types end up being fighting anyway. So I assumed Piplup would be two types at the end. I just forgot it was Steel, so that was kind of a nice surprise for me.
Hopefully, I didn't spoil that for you.
No, no, no. I found out last night. Um, so one thing I will compliment it for is it's been a while since I played a like a top down Pokemon game because the last few have been Sword and Shield, Pokemon Let's Go, which are more the camera is more like not ground level, but it's not like completely over the head. So it feels nostalgic for a new game for me to be playing where the camera is pretty much right above your head. You're this very small human being in this very big world running around catching Pokemon. So it's hitting me nostalgia wise that way, even though I haven't played the original games. And I also want to shout out the music in this game. I know Pokemon has always been known for its fantastic soundtrack and songs, but when you're going towards the lake, there's this really, really fun melody that plays. The battle themes are epic. The gym leader battle theme was epic. So I'm really enjoying the music right now. I think if I were to have a complaint, and you guys have played these games, so let me know if maybe this will change. Um, but I feel like the story is a bit slow to start. I took down the first gym, and I had my first encounter with Team Galactic. Um, but nothing is really happening yet. The story so far is you're with your rival, and you are going to fight gyms. It's just the base kind of bare bones plot. Um, so I don't know. Noah, do you know if the story in Diamond and Pearl is one of the things that picks up, or is it kind of just like more of a milk toast kind of story throughout?
That's one of my favorite ones. I do really like the story in that one. That I like Team Galactic as an antagonist. They are a little bit plain, but like it's more like they're evil for no reason kind of thing. They do have a bit of a plot, but it's not it's not surprising. It's not like it's not something like Team Flare per se in Gen 6 where they have this deep purpose to what they're doing. But I do like them as an antagonist. I like the story that how it's written, and I think you're going to enjoy yourself.
Well, on my side, I think Team Galactic was one of the more nefarious teams. And
Hmm.
I don't remember it too well, but from what I do remember, it was quite a, as far as Pokemon games go, the story was like pretty decent. And,
Yeah,
of course, the mascot Pokemon, I think were some of the, well, I don't know about now, but they were quite intense. Because one like controls space and the other one controls is it time.
I think
So
so. Yeah.
yeah, space and time, and then yeah, of course. Well, if you had platinum, then you'd have Giratina as well.
Hmm.
But I've heard that they haven't added that kind of content from the platinum, you know, remake or whatever.
Yeah. I was going to ask
Which
about that. Have either of you guys played Platinum? Because I know a lot of people are kind of upset that these are pretty faithful remakes of Diamond and Pearl with zero Platinum content inside, where a lot of people praise Platinum as the superior game, the same way that people praise Crystal as the superior game in Gen 2. Um, so have you guys played Platinum? Are you guys upset that there's no content from that game in these remakes? Noah?
Yeah, I've played Platinum. It from memory, it's been a while, so I'm assuming they mean certain Pokemon are absent and that maybe a few story events are absent. So yeah, I would rather a Platinum remake than
Hmm.
Diamond and Pearl. I felt the same way about the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire remakes, where
Yeah.
I'm like, did like just give us Emerald, man.
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, but back then, like those games were like they were just selling the same game back to you a year later for more money, so that you could catch Suicune, Rayquaza, and Garatina. But they are still better games, so you've
Mhm.
got to call it somewhere.
Yeah. Mark, what do you think?
Well, I didn't play Platinum myself, but I do think it's a missed opportunity and would have added to the game because I know there was some extra content there. But then again, these days we do have DLCs and things like that. So perhaps they'll add some stuff in down the road. But of course, we do have Pokemon Legends Arceus coming up. So that'll probably be, their focus once that comes out.
Yeah,
So
I'd be surprised if we get DLC for this game. I feel like Game Freak is pushing this thing out, and then they're going right into full steam ahead on working on Arceus. Um, one comparison that keeps coming to me while I'm playing Pearl and Diamond is that it feels very parallel to Gen 1. Something about Little Leaf Town reminds me of Pallet Town in a way. The first gym leader is a rock type gym leader, which reminds me of Brock. I don't know if that's like intentional, where they were trying to use the same beats as Gen 1 in Gen 4 to kind of get people going, or maybe it's just me comparing Pokemon games apples to apples. But there's a part of me that's enjoying almost the throwback nature of like, hey, there's two Pokemon you can catch at first. One's like a Rattata, one's Bidoof, and one's your Pidgey, which is Starly. Like it feels like almost DNA wise, a slightly different version of Gen 1, which I'm really enjoying because I love Gen 1. Obviously, not my favorite gen, but there's so much nostalgia there that I'm enjoying playing the same story beats with different Pokemon, different characters. Yeah.
I think that might change as you go along.
Mhm.
If memory serves, Sinnoh did have a lot of water in it. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And towards the end, I think you do spend a lot of time, surfing around, and there's quite a long water route as well, which was quite nice. I felt like the exploration was quite good in that game. There was all
Mhm.
these little hidden pathways and secrets to discover. Well, which I felt in games like Sword and Shield, at least initially, that kind of thing was absent.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, I've only beat the first gym so far, so I got a long, long way to go ahead of me still. I'm at the point now where I'm just kind of training all of my Pokemon to fill up my Pokedex. It is a Pokemon game where there is a daytime and a nighttime based off the real time in your world. So I was playing most of my game during the daytime, but last night I got home from work and I was like, well, time to go back to Route 2 and look for all the nighttime bugs that I missed. So having fun, just kind of listening to podcasts, running around, training my team, making them stronger. I thought about doing a Nuzlocke challenge for this one, but I think I'm gonna have more fun just kind of taking it at my own pace and going from there. Noah, hopefully you get your copy very soon.
Yeah, I'd hope so too. So what you were saying about it kind of reflecting Gen 1, I
Hmm.
guess I kind of agree with you. So one of the major things I like about Sinnoh is there's a whole lot of new Pokemon added in that generation, which is kind of reminiscent of the classics when they throw a whole lot of Pokemon at you, and most are specific to that region, but that was back when you could catch a Zubat anywhere or a Geodude anywhere. So yeah, I'd say it's kind of like Gen 1. It actually never occurred to me that Rourke and Brock are both rock type traders, but it yeah, it's a good format. It's a brilliant game. It's reminiscent of the classics, and it's kind of like at that tipping point. Gen 4 was kind of at this tipping point where Pokemon's suddenly going to change, and a lot of great stuff went into Sinnoh as a result of we know that a lot of things are about to change.
Yeah, and even like going back to like the comparisons between Gen 1 and this one, like I went into the first cave in the game, and the first thing I saw was a Zubat and then a Geodude. So like you were saying, I'm one Clefairy away from being in Mount Moon, essentially.
One thing I have been a bit curious about is I think, Sinnoh was the first Pokemon game on the Nintendo DS, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know how that's translating or how they've, worked some of that in to now you only have a single screen. You don't have that touch
So
interface at the bottom.
from what I know from the original DS version is that the top screen on your DS was the main action. That's where you're, battling. That's where you're moving around. And your bottom screen was something called a Poketch, I want to say. I could be mispronouncing it, but something along those
Yeah,
lines.
yeah, yeah.
And
Something like that.
it was almost like a smartphone. Like you can tell the time, there's a pedometer on it, you can look at your Pokemon team. So essentially that is in the top right hand corner of your screen while you're playing. And you can turn it off, you can turn it on. I didn't realize that you could turn it off for the first couple of hours, and I thought this thing was just going to be in the top right hand screen, cutting out like character models and like parts of the map. But I found out if you hold R, it will disappear and you can make it come back if you want. I don't know if this is new for the remake, but you don't teach your Pokemon HMs. You are using the Pokétch for the HMs. So I have Rock Smash and I can activate it through the Pokétch to get through caves, which is very interesting.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
that's definitely sorry. That's definitely a new feature there.
Yeah, I
When I
assume
played it,
so.
it still had the old school where you had to have like an HM horse or
And
whatever.
that's why you'd have Bidoof in your party to teach Rock
Pretty much.
Smash and Surf and everything else that he can do.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, those are my thoughts. Like I said, I'm only 3 hours into it, but gonna be playing it probably every day until I roll credits on it. Any final thoughts, Noah? Or are you kind of just anxious to get to your copy?
Yeah, so what you said about the HMs, I covered this a little while ago. Yeah, it used to be the classic. You've got to have, and they would call it an HM slave, where it's a Pokemon. In that game, it was Bidoof for B Barrel that could
Yeah.
learn Surf, Waterfall, Cut, Rock Smash, like all that stuff. So so the new mechanic is you have them saved in your Pokétch, and it calls like a wild Pokemon to you. So that's a fantastic modernization of a mechanic that was terrible for so long. I like every generation, I was like, did they finally get rid of HMs? And
Yeah.
every time was no until 7, where I'm like, yes, they're
Yeah.
finally gone at long last. And they
I really
also
liked what
wanted
they
to
did in
show
Gen
you,
7. Yeah.
yeah. So I wanted to show you with the release of the Gen 4 games, you got this.
The
This is a
Pokewalker.
Pokétch. And
Oh.
yeah, so I forget how it works. Maybe Mark knows more. You would get that exact screen that's on your game on here, and you could like move a Pokemon on here to like take around with you. And I think you got something for it. Like it would get friendly with you, pick up items, or maybe it was even like the daycare where it would level up. I don't really remember, but
Yeah, it would.
yeah, luckily I have this in a drawer.
I've still got one also in a drawer somewhere. And if I remember, it used to, like, as you walked with it, it would count your steps and build experience on your Pokemon. And also, like you said, pick up items and all sorts of like berries and potions and things. So it's quite a neat little device.
I feel like I had like a Digivice when I was a kid. That was almost the same thing. It was like a Digimon, like you put it on your hip, you walked around. It would make a sound whenever you found like a wild Digimon that to fight. I didn't have that, but that's really cool. I know in Soul Silver and Heart Gold they also had something I think called the Pokewalker, which is what I thought that was. But that's really neat. Yeah. Any final thoughts on Pokemon Shining Pearl, Brilliant Diamond? I know Mark, you were probably keen to get it, but I know you're busy with another RPG right now, so it might be some time.
Well, to be honest, I think yeah, like I said, I've got a bit of that Pokemon fatigue, so
Mhm.
I might sit this one out, but yeah, maybe I'll pick it up someday when I'm feeling nostalgic for Sinnoh region.
Yeah.
Who knows?
You'll probably be able to find a used copy relatively soon, even like after Christmas, for even like maybe half price if you really wanted it. So
Yeah.
that's a wrap on our Pokemon, mostly Shining Pearl. I can't believe we're probably the only podcast not talking about Diamond, but that's our Shining Pearl recap. Noah, you've been playing the Halo Infinite multiplayer beta. How is that going?
So, and I'm pleased with it. It's definitely an intriguing game. It's definitely more reminiscent of the classics. I didn't really get into Halo until Reach, but like just from what I know, I'd say it's the most similar to kind of how 2 and 3 worked in terms of the multiplayer. Those little like spawning points for weapons and vehicles are back. They're no longer just on the map, that they spawn in at these things. So I'm trying to get used to that. But as of now, I'm kind of struggling with it. I need more practice, just not really getting how to succeed. And so I've been trying to practice to get better, and then hopefully with time it'll come.
Has your win-loss ratio been like 50-50, or are you doing okay out there?
I'd say a little bit less. It's probably like 40-60.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I need to need to do some more winning. Also, not a lot of game types are out. It's mainly on Big Team Battle. You have Stockpile, which is like it's territories kind of,
Mhm.
and well, yeah, there's Stockpile where you collect these battery things. Then there's regular territories where you have to control a zone. And yeah, I was never really that good at those, but
Mhm.
yeah,
I
capture the
always liked,
flag. I was always good at, so I'm succeeding there.
yeah, I was gonna say capture the flag is the one I used to always do with my friends when I went to their house to play multiplayer. Like that was the most fun for me, especially like getting it so close to your zone and like somebody snipes you and you're just trying to get it 5 feet farther so you can claim it. One of the reasons I haven't hopped in just yet is because I'm such a noob at Halo that I do worry people who've been playing this game their entire life are gonna just headshot me as I'm in like the loading screen area. So that kind of worries me. But it sounds like you've been doing pretty well for yourself.
I wouldn't say well. I've been doing it. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Just succeeding how I can. Like I was
Mhm.
always big into Reach multiplayer. That was like my first major first person shooter multiplayer game, and that's really where I learned to play. So I kind of understand like never really going back to that. Like in MCC, and they gave that back because I guess they kind of accepted, well, like so long as we're trying to mimic it, and they're always just going to want it to be like the original thing, the Reach multiplayer. So let's just
Mhm.
give them that, and I appreciate that. I'm not recently, but I have had fun with that custom game browser,
Yep.
running some old lobbies again.
With the multiplayer being in beta, are you seeing many bugs or glitches or anything, or is it running pretty smoothly for you?
Every once in a while, like it takes a bit to come up at first. Like sometimes when I try to access it, it'll say multiplayer not available, and I have to kind of reset it and get it to work. But no, like the games are functioning fine.
Are you enjoying the grappling hook? Are you using the grappling hook often, or is that still kind of newish and hard to play with?
It's newish and hard to play with. I'm just not aiming with it right. Like I keep
Mm.
like missing. I go like, and then I just hit nothing. And it's a lot shorter range than people realize looking at it. It's not like it's very reminiscent of the thing you had in Advanced Warfare that kind of does that.
Mm.
It's not nearly that far range, so you have to kind of learn it like it's a new thing.
Because I've seen footage of people using the grappling hook on like vehicles in the air, and it seems like there's quite a bit of reach to it, but a bit of Halo reach to it. But maybe it's just like the way I'm seeing it. Maybe it's not as long as I imagined. But I've been seeing some pretty cool like YouTube clips of people using the grappling hook to take out an enemy and then steal the ship from beneath them, or even like I saw a video of somebody using the grappling hook just to pretty much like platform across the level and then drop like a grenade into the enemy respawn zone. So it seems like once you can utilize it and use it effectively, it can be a pretty powerful tool for you. Mark, I know we've been talking about Halo. Are you? I forget if you have access to the beta at all.
I don't at this stage, but I
Right.
am quite a fan of Halo, so I will at some stage, especially because
Mhm.
it's free. I
Yeah.
will give the multiplayer a try. I tend to avoid betas and things like that unless I'm really keen on it. So it's encouraging to hear that Noah's having a good time with it and also not experiencing too many bugs or glitches. So hopefully, once it's out of beta, then it'll be quite good, and they'll add some more game types and things. So
Yeah.
yeah, sounded good.
I definitely wonder because this game they surprised dropped it I think on the 15th, and I wonder if it was a strategy at all for them to kind of dissuade people from dropping $80 on Call of Duty Vanguard or Battlefield 2042, two very popular multiplayer games that came out around the same time, and they said, hey. don't pay money for your game. Here's a free Halo Infinite beta. Everyone seems to be having a good time with it. I haven't heard anybody talk about Vanguard or even really 2042 in the last 7 days. So it seems like it was almost effective if that was their plan.
Yeah, I think it's also a ploy to market the Halo Infinite limited edition console, which I have not managed to get my hands on. So that I hope, but I don't know.
Do you know if that console makes like Halo sounds when you turn it on and stuff? Because I know there was a Halo themed Xbox 360, and it would make Halo sound effects when you turned it on or opened the disc tray. But I'm not sure if the new console's doing that at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure about
Mm.
sounds. I know that if you hold a black light over it, there's a secret image of, I think, the Zeta Halo. I
Oh
haven't seen
wow!
a picture of it. I've only read that in titles.
So to enjoy the special edition console, you got to have a black light, which I don't have personally, but I guess I'd buy one just to see that Zeta Halo. But no, sounds like you're having a good time. I'm like I said, I'm gonna hop into it soon. I'm just waiting for the courage to form within me to hop in there. So we talked about Pokemon before. There was another RPG that came out to Switch not too long ago, a little game called Shin Megami Tensei 5. And Mark, I think, has been pretty much putting his entire life into this game since we last talked. Mark, how is SMT5 going?
Well, if you're a fan of Pokemon, you might just enjoy this particular title. It's different, and I don't know. It's hard to really explain. I'm just having a really good time with it, and yeah, it's something different. I love RPGs, so that's of course one of the main draws. And I was kind of on the fence, choosing between this and waiting for Pokemon. And like, yeah, because of the Pokemon fatigue, I thought, well, let me try something different. It looks quite interesting, and it's also one of the first games they started teasing when they announced the Switch. So it's been a long time since they dropped that first trailer, and then we heard nothing about it for a while. So
I think it was
yeah,
2017 that they dropped that first trailer, like
yes, I think so.
January. Yeah. Do you know how many hours into it you are right now, or like
I
roughly?
think I'm probably about 15 hours into it, and I got it only last week. So I think on last week on Saturday, I downloaded it in the morning because I was going out with my girlfriend, and yeah, she was busy, so I just sat and played Shin
Yeah.
Megami Tensei. And it starts out, you're just this normal Japanese individual that goes to a random school, and then some weird stuff happens, and you're suddenly in, like, I'm not sure if it's the future or the something weird happens, and you get these crazy powers, and there's demons everywhere, and yeah, you just make friends with them, which is quite an interesting mechanic. You actually talk to these monsters and demons and things, and that's how they'll ask you a question, or they'll say, okay, I want some of your money, or and you got to try figure out how to kind of recruit them.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's quite entertaining to figure out. It's almost like you psychologically profiling these monsters, and yeah, it's quite different to
It
you know
sounds really cool. I played some of SMT4 on the 3DS, and I think most SMT games are kind of just about heaven and hell fighting for the fate of Earth. So I'm not sure if SMT5 is very much like that. But when I was playing number 4, it was very much so like, hey, here's the god of heaven, and here's like the devil, and they're fighting over the souls of humans. And you're kind of like, I know in 4 you got to kind of choose if you wanted to be an evil protagonist or a good protagonist. So I'm not sure if SMT5 is offering you those same kind of options or not.
I think there is it's a very similar story actually. Yeah, you got Lucifer the devil, and yeah, this whole apocalyptic war between the angels and the demons, and you kind of fall somewhere in the middle. And I think you do at some point like have to make certain choices and be either good or evil. um but yeah, it's basically chaos versus order and how they consume each other, and yeah, that vicious cycle that goes on. But I'm in it for the cool monsters, and
the good writing. Like I've been seeing really good thumb or screenshots of like some of the conversations you have with the monsters when you're trying to recruit them seem very funny. I saw one where somebody was trying to bribe a monster with alcohol, and the monster responded with like, "You can't give me alcohol. I'm a child. That will raise the ESRB rating if you do this." So very like breaking the fourth wall. Mark, how is the music in the game? Because I know Persona is a spin-off of SMT and everyone loves the music in that. So I'm wondering if the music in SMT is even coming close.
To be honest, I haven't actually played a Persona game. Sad to say, but I do. I think the music is a bit of a standout for me, especially over the last year. The musical direction is quite. I don't know how to say it, but it's very interesting and fitting in a way because it's in like this apocalyptic world and just everything works quite well together. So yeah, it's,
I'm imagining like a lot of like organs and bells and a lot of like kind of chamber music playing in a game like this.
yeah, the music is quite, I would say, dramatic
Mm,
and it can be somewhat oppressive at times, but yeah, it's quite interesting. And then there's other areas you go to, like what they call it, the world of shadows or something, where you fuse your monsters and things like that, which is a really interesting mechanic as well. And
yeah.
it's got, of course, like a quite a nice piano theme.
Unlike Pokemon, like the monsters don't evolve, right? You have to fuse two monsters together to create a new monster.
Yeah, so I guess you could say it's a bit like some Digimon games where you use a similar mechanic to fuse the monsters, and some of them, it's quite interesting to do. Like, and you always want to befriend as many monsters as you can. Of
Hmm.
course, you do have a limited amount of demons that you can accompany you. So I think I've got about 10 or so. So it's not
Hmm.
like Pokemon where you just can indefinitely fill up a computer
And
full of
each
things.
monster will have like an element attached to it, right? Or like one will be ice, one will be electric, one will be curse or light. And the monsters you fight will typically have a weakness or a resistance to those types as you fight them. Kind of like Pokemon that
Yeah.
way as well.
Yeah, that sort of elemental rock, paper, scissors.
Hmm.
It is there. So, yeah, if you do feel like that kind of RPG, but maybe not really digging into Pokemon this time around or something like me, it's a good one to pick up because I do love a good RPG and some turn-based combat. You know.
Yeah, and you're planning on keep on playing. You're planning on seeing credits on this thing because I think I've read it's probably about 80 hours on how long to beat.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm gonna definitely try and put the time in, but and hopefully not get sidetracked by any of the other new games coming out.
Hmm.
Although it's a bit of a slow year from here on out, at least I think so.
Yeah.
So I might end up playing some Halo multiplayer or what have you. Just
And plus, you have it on Switch, so you can play it on the go. Like if you're taking the bus to work, you have 10 minutes to kill. Why not grind out some monsters or do some like meta work there? So
yeah. On that note, is it can be, or at least in my experience so far, a little bit grindy.
mm,
Where you got to kind of really push to get some experience
yeah,
and level up. Otherwise, bosses can be very punishing. And yeah,
yeah. I guess my last question would be, how is it running on Switch? Like, is it frame rates okay? It's stable at least.
yeah, it seems pretty good. In handheld mode, though, well, compared to playing it on the big screen, it does look like in some instances it does look a little bit sort of a little bit blurry, I guess. Obviously, the screen isn't as high resolution. It's not the same
Yeah,
output, but I think it's a very good looking game. The character models and the monsters, they all are quite impressively animated, and there's just some really cool um, creatures to meet, and some of them are quite weird and creepy, even.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's,
yeah. A lot of them are like weird and creepy. Some of them are like silly. Like there's a Jack Frost who's just like a snowman who dances and has ice attacks.
yeah,
Um,
and a lot of
but
them are based on like real world cultural monsters and things like there's
like mythology and stuff like that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. I would love to be playing this game right now, but with the ADR, with the time it takes to play, I just don't know if I have the time right now. Might be a good thing for me to to get for Christmas and then play during like Christmas break once things kind of wind down at the end of the year. I did finish a game on Friday. I beat Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, not to be confused with the other one. Um, I think that's a really good game, but I think after I beat it, I think if I were to grade it, I think I'm looking at like a 7.5. I think there's a lot of really good there, but there's kind of enough jank in it as well to bring it down a couple notches. Mark, you're on the show with Justin and I when we were talking about it, and we discussed how the characters, there's so much writing in this game, and Rocket Raccoon and Drax, and everyone's always talking to a point where it's almost a little bit distracting, I'd say.
Yeah, I remember you
Um,
mentioning that.
yeah, like I'd be and it's even a lot of instance like a lot of cases of characters talking over each other because there's so much dialogue in this game that I'll go to the corner of a level and somebody has to comment on the thing I found. And as I'm leaving the corner, somebody has to tell me what my next objective is while the other one's still telling me about the thing I found. So I found the writing to be mostly really good, but maybe just could have been edited a little bit. There could have been a little bit less of it. And my other complaint about the game was kind of just the technical issues that I had to face while I was playing it. If you are, it's very Uncharted-ish. Sometimes you'll be sliding down a ramp. You have to jump at the right time to make it to the next part. If you jump and you hit like the wrong angle, you are beneath the level. You are stuck in purgatory. You have to reset the game to get back to where you were before. And that happened to me more than a couple of times. So those are kind of like my two cons is like the talking and every now and then hair wouldn't be where it's supposed to be. At one point, Gamora was wearing a cape and it was going through her waist like capes normally should, which was very distracting and took me out of the game.
Well, I think you said you'd give it about a 7.5, which to me is still a pretty solid
Hmm.
score. So,
Yeah.
like, sort of where would you place this? Like, in terms of games you played this year, you think it's one of the better ones, or
I think there's a chance it makes my top 10, but there's also a chance it doesn't. Like that's where I'm feeling on it. Like looking I feel pretty good about what I have in my top 5. It's those 7, 8, 9, 10 spots that are a little bit not cemented yet. It could end up at number 9 or 10 for me. But that also could just be there aren't many games like Guardians that came out this year, single player focused, character focused, based off a brand that people already know, like a Spider-Man or something. Like for that reason, it might be high up because nothing else has really come close. Maybe even like Kana, but Kana isn't as chatty or as similar to Guardians as I would pitch it. But what I did like about the game was the story. The story was really good. I'm not sure if it's inspired by a specific comic arc that these characters go on, but it feels like it takes place between the first and second movie. So when you start the game, the characters already have a rapport with each other. You're not going around, you're not like recruiting Rocket and Groot to your team. You're already a team at the start of the game. And that rapport only grows like stronger and stronger as you go. I think the game is 16 chapters, about 20 hours long. So you're spending a lot of time with these people and you're having really good group interactions as well as one-on-one interactions with them all. I want to shout out the voice acting for Gamora and Star Lord specifically. There's I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a pretty emotional scene at one point, and the voice actress behind Gamora, the way her voice is cracking as she's giving a speech about something, felt like I could hear the voice actress like crying in the recording studio recording these lines. Like, I felt it like to my core almost, and it resonated. And I'm actually a little upset that she didn't get any nominations for Best Actress for Game of the Year. We'll get to that later. But the voice acting and the characters were fantastic. The story was good. There were some really unexpected twists throughout the game as well. But like I said, there's so much good. It just kind of got bogged down by a couple of things near the end that were hard to overlook.
okay? Well, you mentioned the voice acting being quite impressive,
Hmm.
and on that note, I think that can really, for me, sell me on a game in a lot of ways. Like I was playing Fatal Frame a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know if it's just the English dub, but Yeah,
Yeah.
the voice acting was quite flat and boring just to listen to. So I, yeah,
Yeah, voice
didn't
acting
really enjoy it.
can make or break a game for me. Like if you're playing I'll talk about even like Skyrim a little bit because I was playing Skyrim last week for our show, and there are certain NPCs that tend to have a flatness to their voice when they're like, "Hello, traveler, welcome to the town." And I was like, there could be a little bit more jump in your step when you're greeting me to your town greeter. But even the NPCs, like you're walking through markets and crowds, and you're hearing excitement, you're hearing sadness, you're hearing emotions through the voice acting, which is really all I ask for. I want it to stand out. I don't want it to be just like background noise, you know?
There was a fantastic stream on the official Bethesda Twitch a few weeks back. I embedded it in one of my articles when they talked. It was the voice actors of Skyrim talking
Mm,
about their experience. So I do get what you mean. Some of the less important characters can be flat. I think
mhm,
that's partly because it may, like, a lot of them share voices. I think maybe they intentionally give some of them like the exact same voice, with it keeping in mind like we may decide to switch things around eventually, like some lines that are Lydia's are now going to be Serana's, or things like that, and they don't have the same voice actor. That was just thinking of two characters.
mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
you'll meet some better voice characters. I don't know if you played Oblivion, but the guy that voices Sheogorath in Oblivion and also in Skyrim is very good.
And yeah, I'm not saying that like Skyrim is full of bad voice acting. There are just a few NPCs. Like there's some that stood out as really good, like the Jarl of I keep forgetting Whiterun. Yeah, like his voice acting was really good. Even like he has a wizard who asks you to help him take down the dragon, and I thought he was really good as well. It just certain NPCs seem like it was a little more flat, which stands out where I feel like Guardians was consistently like every single voice I heard was either different or just kind of conveyed the emotion I was hoping to hear at the moment. So I don't have too much else to say about Guardians. The new game plus of it all doesn't seem very good. Um, because there are collectibles throughout the game. There are different costumes you can get. There's different upgrades you can find. But after you beat the game, if you go into chapter select, anything you find in that chapter does not carry outside the chapter. Essentially, if I wanted to go back and collect all the costumes, I have to start from the beginning and do another full playthrough. I can't just jump to chapter 12, get the thing I missed, and hop out because it doesn't carry out with me. The game wants you to do another full playthrough, which I'm not keen for. I was ready to go back in and just get the collectibles and call it a day, but yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed a lot of this game. The story and the characters kept on surprising me. It was just oversaturation of dialogue, and technically, it was very distracting. And the last thing I want to be thinking about while playing a game is like, oh yeah, this is a video game. Like the hair is like not where it's supposed to be, or one eye is more popped out than the other, and stuff like that. But I definitely would recommend it to anybody looking for a good single player experience. Finally, for games we're playing, we're going to go back to Skyrim because Noah downloaded the anniversary collection that came out on the 10th anniversary of the game. Noah, do you want to explain kind of what's part of the anniversary edition and how you've been enjoying it?
Yeah, so a lot of people, oh, this is Bethesda's fault, really, and they weren't perfectly clear about what's what in this whole update thing. So first, I'll say the anniversary update. So the update is something that anyone that owns Special Edition will get as an update for the game that adds 4 new pieces of Creation Club content. That is free to everyone, and it's the fishing mechanic, the Golden Saints Stark Seducer quest, what some inventory thing. I forget what they call it. It's like foreign items or something, and I can't quite remember what the fourth thing is. It's a few things that will enrich the game, bring a few people back. Then there's the anniversary upgrade, which is for anyone owning Special Edition. You can pay, I think it's 19.99 for everyone, but I think it's a $2 discount if you have Game Pass. So that will just change your special edition to the anniversary edition game. Yeah, it's no different from just buying the new disc or digital copy of anniversary edition. It's just they figured like if you have special edition, let's save these people some money. That's what's going on there. So if you have special edition, just do this small upgrade. Don't pay the whole $60 for a new disc. And if you don't have special edition, then you should buy the new game, which is Skyrim Anniversary Edition.
Are there any technical upgrades to the anniversary? Like, is it running at a better frame rate? Do they improve any like texture graphics or anything?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I was telling you before. And as usual, there's some post-launch bugs. So I
Yeah.
managed to play a bit, but right now I'm kind of stuck on the black screen. It's kind of difficult to play when you can't see. So
Yeah.
hopefully at some point this week that'll get fixed. I was enjoying the fishing mechanic. It's actually very much like Pokemon fishing, where you cast in, something bites, then you reel in.
Do you know if fish are like region based? Like you can only catch salmon in this area, you can only catch bass in this area, or bass.
So I was trying to figure that out, and I'm not positive yet. It seems like it's weather dependent,
Hmm.
and mainly, and also time dependent. Like like real fishing seems like those are the main two things. But it does seem like location is part of it because I haven't seen any for myself yet, but I've read in the game that there are some like in dungeons. So I'm eager to take a look at those. I've been mainly using the ones that I'm finding in cities and on the exterior map.
I wonder if any modders are throwing in like Magikarp and Goldeen mods into Skyrim Anniversary. Wouldn't that be cool if you're fishing and all of a sudden you pull out like a Gyarados?
That would be awesome.
That'd
Yeah,
be
modders,
incredible.
please do this to Train Wiz. Please make me catch a train. That'd be awesome.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Mark,
Well,
we didn't talk to you last week about Skyrim. Do you have much affinity with the series?
I do. I put quite a lot of hours into Skyrim on Xbox 360. I also own the special edition, so I've been having a look at the patch notes, and it does seem like there's good reason for me to go back and check it out a bit. Noah was talking about how the fish are, kind of depends on the weather and the time, and I see there's also a survival mechanic as well that they've added in there, which looks quite cool, and I think that would make it just that little bit more immersive than it was before, and it was quite an immersive game to begin with. And yeah, also with the fishing, that sounds like quite a nice mechanic because I know you used some fish for making potions and things like that. So, and they were always quite a pain to jump in there and try and catch them. So I guess that kind of addresses that a little bit. So yeah,
Yeah, the
quite a
survival
fan
mode.
of.
I forgot that was a thing. When I booted up Skyrim Special Edition for the show last week, it popped up like, "Hey, if you want, you can play it where your character has a hunger bar, they have to stay warm during the cold to survive." Like, I almost like wanted to throw that on, but because it was my first time playing, I was like, maybe I should not go right into hardcore mode of this game. I also realized like I forgot that they put out Skyrim in VR, which I have a VR headset here, and I'm wondering if that's I don't know. I was pretty anti-spider. We talked about the Skyrim stuff last week, so maybe that wouldn't hold up very well right in my face. But that's cool that Skyrim is still kicking. And I think that they just announced yesterday or today that Elder Scrolls 6 is officially going to be Xbox exclusive. There's no way it's coming to Sony. No way it's coming to Nintendo, obviously. So I'm curious about the future of Elder Scrolls, and especially now that they have Microsoft backing them. Just a kind of a question for Noah. Do you think that there's any chance ESO6 is, I don't want to say janky, but Bethesda is sometimes known for their buggy games. Is there a chance that ESO6 runs flawlessly and smoothly throughout the entire experience?
Well, there is. There's a chance of anything. Do I think
Of
it'll
course.
happen? No, but
Okay.
yeah, but you know what? It's a long way away, and we're waiting for Starfield right now.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure how official that announcement is. I think it came from Phil Spencer, was it?
I think so. That's where I read it from.
Yeah, so if it came from him, like he's not a Bethesda employee, but that certainly says Microsoft does not intend for this to be the Sony game.
Yeah.
So from that, I'd assume it is accurate, but I wouldn't go so far as to say it's an official announcement because I think what it was is when someone asked him, he confirmed it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what I read as well. Is the last Bethesda release? Is it Fallout 76? Is that the last official Bethesda game that we got? Minus
Uh,
the remakes and anniversary?
I off the top of my head, I believe so. That'd be the last thing that came out of the Rockville studio. That's
Yeah.
just my guess. I may be wrong.
Yeah. I'll be very curious to see how Starfield and ESO 6 run. Because Fallout 76 was notoriously probably one of the buggiest things that they'd ever released, right? But of course, they were playing with online servers for the first time and the multiplayer aspect of it all. So, but no, you're going to keep playing Anniversary if you get past this black screen bug. That's your plan.
Yeah, my plan is to keep playing, then to write some guides. So
Yes.
I haven't gotten far enough to really know what I'm talking about for the fishing yet to be confident writing a guide. I think what I do is I just kind of do the whole thing at like every quest, and maybe I'd use the map behind me to make
Hmm.
like a map of every spot.
Oh, that'd be cool, actually.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. So
Yeah.
hopefully, and I'm also hoping to video some of it. So yep, I'm to learn how it, whether or not, first of all, and also how I can make that happen.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a learning curve, but if you're having fun doing it and you get some work done at the same time, that's kind of just a win-win for you, right? You can play a game you enjoy and then also help other people out who are maybe confused or lost and trying to be as good as you are. Um, so that was actually quite a few games for this week. We've all been pretty busy, it sounds like, between Pokemon Shining Pearl, Shin Megami Tensei 5, the Halo Infinite beta multiplayer, Skyrim Anniversary Edition. So many games, so little time. There is some news for this week, not too much, but there are some things that we should probably talk about. About 3 weeks ago, Mark and I were on this show talking about GTA Trilogy and our hopes and expectations for it and how great we thought it was going to be. Here we are, a week after launch, and is it fair to say that this GTA Trilogy is this year's Cyberpunk? Or is that an over exaggeration?
Well, I think it's not a inaccurate analysis of the situation. It's just really been yeah quite the just fans really aren't happy this time around, and a lot of people were looking forward to playing the GTA trilogy.
Mhm.
I was thinking about picking it up, but not at launch. But yeah, it looks like that's not going to happen now. It's it's quite
One
bad.
thing, yeah, one thing to note about all this stuff is that this is a full priced game. So you're looking at $79.99 if you're where I am for this thing. It's important to know that Rockstar delisted the original versions of these games on Steam before this thing came out. So even if you wanted to go back and play the original San Andreas or Vice City, the only way legally you can do so right now is through this definitive edition, which is just full of bugs and glitches and code that wasn't supposed to be in the game's code, including developer notes from the original production and I think it's the hot coffee mini game. Like, there is a lot happening in this thing, including I actually have a list of the glitches and bugs in front of me. Have you guys seen the video of the rain effects in this game? Essentially, when it's raining, you can't see your hand in front of your face, kind of thing. Like the texture quality of the rain is abysmal. Um, I've seen footage of people having conversations in cutscenes, and a helicopter will just crash behind them during the cutscene. Anything stand out? Like, have you seen any crazy stuff, Mark?
Well, I think it's just the horrendous character models.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing for me. Wow, it's crazy that they've that they've done this and thought it was okay. Okay, we'll just release this game, and it's like, did they actually play it before they released it, or just
Mhm.
you know?
And it's crazy too, because when I think of companies that release consistently good quality games, I think Nintendo and I kind of think Rockstar. I think every other company like EA, Activision, sometimes they'll release something that's not perfect. But Rockstar, between Red Dead, GTA 5, these are like high budget, high end, every detail is being monitored kind of games. And then this thing comes out and just the textures look ugly. Like you're saying, Mark, the character models look worse than the original models did. Um, um, the mods have been removed from it and everything. So honestly, I know a lot of people are very burnt. I believe Rockstar put out a statement yesterday apologizing for the game and saying that they are working internally on a patch. It is important to know that they did hire a third party developer to create this collection. It's not first party Rockstar. They essentially gave the rights to somebody else to work on these ports, and they did a not so good job. I don't know their name right now, but I feel like it'll be a while before they get asked to do a like a Pikmin trilogy port for Switch or something.
Yeah, it's well. I also don't have a clue who did this port,
Yeah,
and I still think that's really not good enough coming from Rockstar. They really should have paid attention. Everyone thought this was going to be probably one of the bigger games for the tail end of the year.
yeah,
I think that's even what we spoke about. Yeah, it'll be a while before we see GTA 6, especially they're still making a lot of bank off of GTA Online and
of
adding
course.
stuff to that. So yeah, but I don't think this one's going to be one that's forgotten anytime soon, especially by people that have pre-ordered it. I don't like pre-ordering games for this reason.
Yeah,
There was no indication that this was going to be a train wreck like it has been. I can only hope that they fix it down the line, but it just seems way too broken,
yeah,
especially the character
100%.
models. Wow, it's just
Character models, the frame rate seems awful, especially if you're playing on Switch. I've heard the Switch is, not to be surprised, the worst version of this game out there. I heard frame drops can go down to at least 15 to 20 frames per second. Um, and I think the worst part of this is that these games have such a strong legacy and such a, I think, pivotal role in the video game industry of creating. Even we talked about Skyrim, but I think GTA was the first thing that inspired the open world craze of like, we need to make our game open world so it can be as popular as GTA. So to release this collection and to call it the definitive version of these games is kind of just like disrespecting the legacy that these things have, the importance these games have, and just kind of like just undermining and unimpressing a new generation of people who have never played the originals, like younger kids who are like, oh, GTA, finally I can play the classics my dad always talks about. Oh, man, video games were bad back then, huh? It's like, no, these games were legitimately very good when they came out, and they're still good to go back to today if you can look at them through the right lens. These versions are not the ones you should be playing. Um, yeah, no, any history with GTA or any thoughts on the trilogy?
I was never really a GTA fan,
Hmm.
but it does sound like this is not a good situation.
Yeah.
Like on one hand, spending money for something that's bad, and but that you were told is going to be better than the
Hmm.
originals, and two, now not having access to the originals on Steam, which is a popular platform for games like that. That's
Hmm.
whoa, man, that's not good.
I feel like for the first time since their table tennis game, you can say that Rockstar has maybe put out, a not great product, which, like I said, for them, like I put them on such a high pedestal because of the work they put into their games that to have this thing with their name on it, it's just I'd be embarrassed if I was them. But moving on from that, like I said, Rockstar has put out a statement that they are going to internally start working on this thing to make it better. So hopefully, in a week or two, we'll see a big patch come out that will fix some of these issues. Earlier in the week as well, we celebrated Xbox's 20th anniversary, which is crazy to think about. Halo and the original Xbox being that old. But they had some announcements. Of course, they dropped the Halo Infinite Beta multiplayer at the very end of the show. They announced it was free for PC and Game Pass and everything else like that. One thing I thought was interesting, they announced an upcoming 6-part documentary series on the history and creation of Xbox within Microsoft, and they're calling it Power On, which I think is like kind of tongue in cheek because most Xbox 360s wouldn't power on the first year or two that they were released. So I don't know if that's like if they know that that's kind of a weird name for this documentary. Did you guys watch this event at all or follow any of the kind of other announcements that were released? There wasn't much. They showed a teaser to the Halo TV series. The Rock was there, and I guess you can bid on an oil painting of The Rock's E3 appearance with Bill Gates from like 2002. But besides that, those are the main news notes. Anything stand out to you, Mark?
Well, I guess the most exciting thing about the event for me would have been the Halo TV series that they teasing, and
Yeah.
also they added a whole bunch of games to the backwards compatibility, which
Yes.
preserves those games, and you can at least continue playing them if you own an Xbox. Well, I think the biggest ones were the Max Payne series, which were great games, and I think still hold up quite well. Yeah,
they got 50 Cent Blood in the Sand, which I didn't think was going to be possible, but that's backwards compatible now.
Wow, okay, that's wasn't that terrible?
Yeah, it was.
But it's a piece of video game history, so I suppose even the bad games sometimes deserve to be preserved. But well, unless it's these GTA remakes we were just speaking about, maybe those shouldn't. Yeah, we should just forget about those. But yeah, like you said, it was not a lot really happened. Yeah, I suppose The Rock was there. That was cool. Yeah, just history, and I don't think I'll be watching their documentary. I'm not that interested in.
I also worry about a documentary being internally produced by Microsoft. There's going to be a bit of bias in that documentary. I'd rather external third-party company make a documentary about what happened instead of like directed by Phil Spencer, written by Phil Spencer, produced by Phil Spencer at the end of this documentary series. Noah, any standouts for you?
Well, for me, it was surprising that I looked at it like 20 years, and to me, I was surprised. Like, really, it's only been 20 years, but like, I was alive before there was an Xbox. Man, like it. I mean, in the 80s, it was like Sega and Nintendo that then Nintendo politely said to Sony. I mean, Sega, yeah, Sega and Nintendo. So Nintendo politely said, so from now on, your games are going to be on our consoles. And here we are now. Then Xbox, which is now like the pioneer of console gaming and a lot of PC gaming too. So yeah, I'm like, it's only been 20 years, really? But yeah, it was a great event. Happy I got to see it.
Yeah, like you were saying, with it being 20 years, I remember the first time I went to my cousin's house and he had this giant brick of a console. I mean, mind you, at this time, I probably had a GameCube at my house, which you could like almost fit in your palm, right? And Xbox, you could like if you drop that on your toe, you're probably going to the hospital to get a cast or something. But I remember going to his place, and I believe he had Halo 1, as everyone did, and I believe he had like a Cabela hunting game. But even like because he had the Duke controller as well. Man, Xbox just like they went big on that first launch. The console, the controller, everything. But then, like you were saying, Noah, they also created a product that was able to be a multimedia system at home, which the PS2 was doing. It could play DVDs and stuff, but I don't think you could upload MP3s to your PS2 at the time. Whereas your Xbox, it was video games, it was movies, it was music. I don't know if you could put photos on there or not, but it was a bold swing, and I think it obviously worked out very well for them. Mark, any thoughts?
Well, yeah, like you were saying, Xbox basically went multimedia from the start. I remember back at that stage, I had a PS2, and in fact, most people had Sony PlayStations and PS2s and things like that. So Xbox was the new kid on the block. A lot of people liked it, but didn't really. I think only when the Xbox 360 came out, then a lot more people bought them because of the. So I remember going to friends' houses and playing, I think Halo 2 or whatever, and or was it just the first Halo? Anyway, and they could now play their music through this their console, which was really neat. as well. That was quite innovative at the time,
Mhm.
and yeah, you definitely couldn't do that with Duel.
And it was the only console that generation that had a built-in Ethernet port. Like they released it knowing multiplayer was going to be a huge part of this thing. Whereas GameCube and PS2, you'd have to buy a network adapter or a LAN adapter, a separate third-party product just to play Double Dash Online. Which to this day, I don't know a single person who played Double Dash Online. Um, the Halo tease. Did you guys watch the 5-second clip of a guy's back or no?
Not really. I just
No.
sort of read about it.
Yeah,
So
like
that's yeah.
when they said tease, it was like a tease.
Yeah,
No
Like
one?
Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah. But the series is coming to Paramount Plus. They didn't announce a release date for it. I think it's kind of tragic. It's coming to like the fifth worst streaming service. Like I kind of wish this was coming to a more mainstream Netflix or something. I don't know many people who pay for Paramount Plus. I guess a Halo TV show could bring in some new subscribers for them, which would be pretty good. But
Well, at least where I'm from, I don't even think it's available. So it's kind
oh,
of
it's not
disappointing for
available.
me.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
no, unfortunately not.
Oh, that's yeah, because I know certain shows, like I don't have Hulu where I am in Canada. So like certain shows are brought to these streaming services that are not available internationally. So I wonder why a service like Netflix that, there's Netflix in every country. So I wonder why they wouldn't make a contract with them for the Halo show. But it does it looks interesting.
Well, speaking of Netflix, I mean, yeah, it is kind of disappointing that they didn't go that route, especially considering I think League of Legends has a show that's come out recently, and it's very popular, and it's really like in the top 10 list already. So
It's like
yeah,
highly acclaimed. I think IGN gave it like a 10 because I think the final episode dropped and they're like, this is a show that proves that you can do a good video game adaptation and not have it be, you know, the Mario Bros movie from the 80s or something awful like that, right? There's a way to do good video game adaptations. And I think actually Netflix has been doing a good job of like uh creating a path for those things. And I don't want to talk about Cowboy Bebop right now, but they're trying to do things like adapting anime and video games into live action that is mostly working for them. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Like I said, the documentary, the Halo tease, Halo Infinite beta multiplayer. I think they did announce that the batch of backwards compatible games they released is probably going to be the last batch as well. I think it takes a lot of time for them to make these contracts to find like who owns the rights to 50 Cent Blood in the Sand right now. I don't know who you have to call to ask, maybe just 50 Cent himself, but it's hard to get these games licensed for the current generation. So I think Phil Spencer or someone from Xbox said this is the last big batch of backwards compatible games that we will be
yeah,
releasing. Yeah.
I did hear something like that as well. Which
Yeah.
yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
But there's a huge offering and there's way more than what you can get on a PS5. Like PS5 has the PS Now service and they offer you like I think 10 to 11 free PS4 games if you own a PS5 like Bloodborne and Persona 5, but that's all you get. You can't just throw a PS4 or PS3 disc into your PS5 and have it work, which is unfortunate. So that's a wrap on the Xbox stuff. The final piece of news is that Jeff Keighley announced his Game of the Year nominees for his game show. I just want to state that KeenGamer, we do our own Game of the Year usually at the end of the month. So these, some of these games might match up with our personal thoughts, but we're kind of just going through and seeing if there's anything that stands out to us. I think the one thing that stands out to me immediately is 12 Minutes being nominated for Best Indie Game, which if I remember correctly, the week that game came out, I heard nothing but negative press about it. So I'm very surprised to see it nominated for Best Indie Game, especially when games like Chicory and even like Before Your Eyes have come out and been like more universally praised. When you guys go through the categories, does anything stand out to you? I think it's great that Metroid Dread is up for Game of the Year.
One that stands out to me, well, I guess it's not as surprising as one might think, but best role playing, Cyberpunk 2077's been
That's
nominated.
weird. That's
But
weird, right?
thing is the game mechanically and technically was a bit of a mess. I think in terms of story, it was pretty decent once you got into it. So, the whole role playing aspect of it. Yeah, but Shin Megami Tensei 5's up there as well. Monster Hunter Rise. So otherwise, yeah, some hot competition there. Cyberpunk is a bit of a, especially in the role playing category. Yeah,
Yeah, I
a
think
bit of,
Cyberpunk's. I think it's also up for best music as well, which I do think the soundtrack to Cyberpunk is really good between the licensed stuff and the original. Sorry, the original music in that game. The other category that stood out to me as like kind of weird is the best family game genre, which typically for the last 4 or 5 years, this whole category is for Nintendo games. Like last year, I want to say they nominated like I don't even remember what games came out last year because of the pandemic, but typically it's all Nintendo. But this year they decided to add where is it? I just want to find it real quick.
yeah. Well, while you're busy, I guess I could just talk about. Looking at best mobile game, I know it's not exactly the most popular category, especially among KeenGamer viewers and subscribers and whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, they got some Pokemon Unite, of course, is up there,
That's
which
good.
really unsurprising, and League of Legends Wild Rift as well. Two very similar games. So yeah, the MOBA genre has really taken over on mobile by the look of it. And then there's, of course, Genshin Impact, which
Yeah.
we had a lot of guides for at a stage, but probably still do. And yeah, another one that I'm quite pleased to see here is Fantasian, which was Mistwalker's RPG. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
remember
if
you
you know.
talking about. I remember you talking about
Yeah,
this game on a podcast. Yeah.
yeah. I think I did speak about it before, but that's what's his name, Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of Final Fantasy. So
Hmm.
he finally put out a game again, and I did play a bit of it. It's quite a very nicely interfaced game on mobile for an RPG. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
so
quite a
I found it. The best family game. The nominees are WarioWare, Get It Together, Super Mario 3D World, and Bowser's Fury, New Pokemon Snap, Mario Party Superstars, and the one that stands out to me is It Takes Two, which I don't know if either of you guys played It Takes Two, but the overall story of that game is about a couple that's getting divorced and the trauma it's inducing on their child. So I don't know if best family game is really where this thing belongs. It's nominated for a bunch of categories. Maybe
yeah.
the
I've seen it.
themes, yeah, maybe the themes would go over a kid's head if you're playing it with them. But like there's been moments in this game, like I'm playing it right now, I'm actually close to the end where like it gets heavy. Like there's a part that had me and my partner like gasping because of the trauma that was happening on screen. So best family game, a bit weird. I do just want to. I just want to do the main category. I just want to do the game of the year nominees and just see what you guys think about them. So the nominees for game of the year is Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. Like I said, these are not our personal game of the year nominees. I think we'll all have something different when we do our KeenGamer list at the end. But what do you think is most likely to win? Not what you think is going to win personally, but like I guess like yeah, what you do think.
I'd have to say Deathloop. Like I
Yeah,
wasn't surprised at all to see that on there. I haven't played it personally, but I know how popular it is. I think that's probably the winner. That or Metroid Dread.
I have to agree. As much as I enjoy Village, I don't think Village gets the win here. That's one thing I can like pretty confidently say. What about you, Mark?
I also think Deathloop's a very strong contender. I would also be quite pleased if Dread
Hmm.
gets the game of the year.
Yeah.
I, to be honest, I didn't even know there was a new Ratchet and Clank game out, which is yeah, this is yeah. Hopefully that's quite good too. But yeah, I don't know much about um, Psychonauts 2 or It Takes Two even. Like it has also been nominated for a whole bunch of other categories
Yeah.
from what I've seen.
I'd
Yeah,
really like to see It Takes Two. Like my personal pick, if I were to get what I want, it's It Takes Two gets the win. Because I think Joseph Fares, who is the creative director behind this game, and he also did Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, as well as A Way Out, the prison escape game from a couple years ago. He's the only guy out there making genuine couch co-op games that are really fun to play with somebody else. I was talking about Guardians, about how much I love a single player adventure, but I also do miss the heydays of the PS2 era of like I'm player one, you're player two, we're doing a co-op campaign together, even like Halo 2. Like I just miss playing through a story with somebody else. And It Takes Two, I think, is kind of the culmination of his efforts of creating one of these games. And there's so many creative ideas and so many fun gameplay mechanics in It Takes Two that I think it should get rewarded. One thing I saw as well, I saw a tweet from somebody, from a disabled gamer who, when It Takes Two launched, there were no accessibility options in the game. So he tweeted at them and said, "Hey, I love to play your game, but unfortunately, I'm colorblind and I can't see and I can't do all this stuff." It took the studio 2 days to put out a patch with all of those accessibility features after the game's launch. After they got a few tweets being like, "Hey, you kind of forgot something," they fixed it right away. And I think that deserves, recognition if possible. I'd also love to see Metroid Dread win, but that's just because maybe if Metroid Dread wins, we don't have to wait 20 years for the next Metroid game.
Well,
Mark?
I think it's also always very important for games to try and make themselves as accessible as possible. So I think there is also a whole category for innovation and accessibility there as
Yeah.
well. And I don't see It Takes Two there, but it's really important, especially like I think color blindness and things like that. That's a very basic one that can be quite easily achieved, and
we were talking with
accessible, the better.
Jessica a couple weeks ago about how Forza Horizon has the ASL sign language for the cutscenes, which is I think is which is so incredible. And I think next year and the years after we'll be seeing that in almost every game, because we were talking about how inexpensive it must be for the studio to get an ASL interpreter for these games to record the dialogue, right? And it helps so many people out because subtitles and ASL are very different. So,
well, I think it depends on the game. Like maybe your Guardians of the Galaxy you'd have to have like a few at a time.
I don't. Yeah, you're right. I have no idea how that would work. You'd have like one in every corner of the screen and like a fifth one upside down in the middle, just like trying to do. Well, I guess I Am Groot would be the easy one. I feel like you don't need one for I Am Groot, but besides that,
yeah.
So the Game Awards, they're going live December 9th. I'll be watching, less so for the awards and more so for the announcements. I'm really hoping that we see a Metroid Prime 4 trailer at this thing. I'm hoping for more Breath of the Wild 2 news. Game Awards always seems like a good place to get the last big news of the year. So I'm really anticipating big things. Any like big reveals you're hoping to see before we move on to our final topic, Noah?
I don't expect it, but I guess it's possible. There may be a Starfield teaser.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
And I read recently that it was on Todd Howard's AMA where he said we think we'll show more in the summer. So I wouldn't necessarily expect something at the awards, especially since does Bethesda have a game nominated for something?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that we'll see it. And we got the few images and the song at the end of the anniversary party. So I wouldn't say I expect it, but it'd be cool to see a bit more.
I'm just anxious to see gameplay. Like I just want to see gameplay of Starfield so badly. Is it going to be? Are you actually in space traveling like No Man's Sky, or are you just fast traveling from planet to planet? I'm just really keen to see like what they're going to do with this game gameplay wise. Any big announcements you want to see, Mark, or fingers crossed, hoping to see?
At this stage, I guess some news on Prime 4 would be good, but nothing off the top of my head that I'm really anxious to hear about.
Yeah.
Like
I don't want it, but I think we'll probably get some more Splatoon 3 news. Nintendo loves promoting Splatoon, and that new one, I don't know if it has a firm release date yet, but I'm going to assume summer next year if everything goes according to plan on their end. So I'm excited for the show. It'll be a lot of fun. That's a wrap on the news for the week. We talked about the awful GTA trilogy. We talked about the Xbox 20th anniversary event, and we talked about the Game Award nominees. To finish up the show, Pokemon just came out, Pokemon Shining Pearl, Brilliant Diamond. I knew Noah and Mark were both fans of Pokemon before we recorded, so I wanted us to kind of just talk about our favorite Pokemon games, whether they're core or spin-off, it doesn't matter. I actually wrote an article for KeenGamer at the beginning of this year about the 5 best spin-off Pokemon games. So there's a little bit of spoilers from my picks in there, but nobody read that, so it's all good. Actually, I did change my number 1 from that article for this list. So I would like Mark, I'd like you to go first with revealing your number 3, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, going with my number 3, I have chosen Pokemon Go, actually, which, yeah, it's a mobile game, of course. I think just about everyone has played it at least once in their lives. And yeah, I remember it was quite a interesting phenomenon when a couple of years ago, I think it was 2016 when it came out. Everyone was playing it, and it was quite wild, especially as a huge fan of Pokemon. So besides the nostalgia, I still play it once in a while, and you know, send gifts to people and catch a few Pokemon in an idle moment. And yeah, I quite enjoy it because it's so accessible. I think pretty much everyone has played it, and sometimes I'll run into someone and be like, "Wow, you playing Pokemon Go? Cool." Like, let me send you some items or whatever. I don't know if you guys have played it at all. But
When it first launched, I was a little bit like tight on cash, so I didn't have Wi-Fi on my phone. I didn't have data. I only had Wi-Fi, so I could only play Pokemon Go within the confines of my 4 walls of my house. If I went outside and lost my Wi-Fi, I couldn't play the game. So I would just like buy the candies. I'd buy candies, put them in my apartment, and just like hope for Pokemon to come to me, kind of thing. But I have not kept up with it just because when I'm on my phone, I'm listening to Spotify or I'm doing something else, so I don't usually play the game. But when my partner picks me up from work, she's usually always playing Pokemon Go while she waits for me. Like that's still her go-to passive game for, waiting for me to get food or finish up my work or whatever. Noah, did you play a lot of Pokemon Go when it came out?
When it came out, I did. I joined the red team because everyone in my town was doing it was like a combination of blue and yellow, so I wanted to be different. And the black rose, like red's my color, so of course I went red. Yeah, I didn't keep up with it. I just kind of got bored with it, but yeah, it was fun for a while.
And I think they just announced like a Ed Sheeran crossover with Pokemon Go like today or last night. Mark, do you know much about this?
I don't know much about it, but I did see. I've got it on my phone, so I did see a notification like Pokemon Go collaborating with Ed Sheeran. I'm like, okay, wow, that's
Can you catch
interesting.
a wild Ed Sheeran?
I don't know, maybe. But yeah, they've added a lot of content over the years. So yeah, if you ever feel like downloading it again, I think you'd be surprised. I did get bored of it at a stage as well, but I think my sister really enjoys playing it still, and it's quite accessible to kids as well, and it's also gets him out of the house, I guess. So I think I like it also because of that. It's got that kind of get off your couch kind of vibe to it as well. So
Like
yeah.
I remember the summer it came out, like you can go anywhere in the city without seeing a group of people yelling Dragonite or Vaporeon or something like that. Like it was a global event when this thing launched. I think it was good. I knew it was going to be on one of our lists because its impact on mobile gaming is hard to deny. And while I wasn't super into Pokemon Go, I really liked Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, which had a lot of those Pokemon Go mechanics, like how you catch the Pokemon by swiping up with the Pokeball. They had you could like transfer Pokemon from Let's Go to Pokemon Go and vice versa. So I really did enjoy that one. And the Pokemon Go, they still don't have all the Pokemon. I think they just dropped like Gen 6 or Gen 7. So I think they're still like slowly dripping in new Pokemon to keep the game interesting, which is good.
Yeah, they do occasionally drop. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be going by generation anymore. I remember they started, they had Gen 1, then they added Gen 2, and I think I lost interest about then.
Yeah.
And now they'll add like 1 or 2 Pokemon here, and they'll have like an event where a lot of them appear and stuff like that. So, and they've also made it, I think, quite easy to, through their events and stuff, you'll have a whole bunch of Pokemon popping up, and that way you can catch them and get your little candies to
Yeah.
evolve and stuff stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not as popular as it was 5 years ago, but I still see people playing it occasionally. Like you were saying, Mark, I'll look at someone, like if I'm on the bus, I'll just like look over and be like, oh, is that person playing Pokemon Go right now? Very interesting. Noah, what was your number 3 favorite Pokemon game?
My number 3 is going to have to be Platinum. That was my first one that a friend who was a new friend at the time introduced me to Pokemon, and I got Platinum. And to this day, that's still got to be my third favorite.
Anything specific about Platinum that stands out to you when you think back about your experience with it, or is it just kind of one of those? It was one of your first Pokemon, so it kind of stays in your memory because of that.
The two major things are I like Sinnoh as a region, and also what was it? I like how many Pokemon there are. That was a huge generation for new Pokemon.
It was also one of the first generations to really introduce evolutions to the Pokemon that we were already familiar with. Like I think it's Gen 4 that has the Magmar evolution and the Electabuzz evolution, and all these Pokemon that we thought forever would never evolve. All of a sudden, they're bigger and stronger, faster too. Yeah, Platinum. I've never played. I know I'm playing Pearl right now, and I'm a little upset that the Platinum content isn't in there. But um, yeah, my number 3 is Pokemon Conquest, which is kind of a forgotten about Pokemon game. It's a turn-based strategy for the DS. It's inspired by an NES game called Nobunaga's Ambition.
Oh
Um,
wow, I remember that.
yeah, so Pokemon Conquest, you play as a warlord and you own one of 16 kingdoms, and each kingdom is their own types. There's a grass kingdom, a fire kingdom, all the way up to dragon, dark, steel. And essentially, it's turn based. So you can either train your Pokemon, you can send them off to get money or items for you. And whenever you choose one of these actions, a month goes by. So as you're doing this stuff, you'll be like month 5, month 6. And once you feel good enough, you can try and invade a different kingdom and claim it as your own. And your eventual goal is to claim every kingdom in the land to stop, I think it's Reshiram from destroying the planet. So it's 6 on 6, like normal Pokemon battles are. Your team's at one end of the field, the other team's at the other. Each Pokemon can move X amount of spaces based off their size and their weight. So if you have a Snorlax, you're moving like 2 tiles per turn. If you have an Eevee or something, you'll move like 5 to 7 tiles per turn. It's really fun. If you're a fan of Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics and Pokemon at the same time, this is a really fun, unique game. It's really hard to find, unfortunately, and it was only ever on DS. So it's not incredibly accessible, unfortunately. But man, I love this game. Mark.
Yeah, I remember that one coming out, and it was, yeah, interesting. I didn't get a chance to play it, but it's one of those I completely forgot about. So thanks for reminding me about that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, it's quite wild.
I played it through probably 2 or 3 times. It's a game that I just get a craving for, and I install, and I can play it probably in like 3 or 4 sittings at this point. But the strategy involved with the battle, because there's even when you're on a battlefield, like say you're in the Ghost Kingdom, items will disappear and reappear in random locations during the battle. If you're in the Fire Kingdom, every 3 turns or so, meteors will fall and hit random tiles. So you might get injured, your enemy's Pokemon might get injured. So you're really adapting each battle. It's not the same like use water gun, use water gun, use water gun like you can do in other Pokemon games. A lot of strategy, a lot of creativity. I think almost every Pokemon up to that point is in the game, which I think was Gen 4 or no, Gen 5, sorry. So I recommend it if you can find it for sure. Mark, what is your number 2?
For my number 2, I've gone with Pokemon Unite, which is, of course, I'm sure you guys have both played it, and I've spoken about it on previous podcasts. Yeah, it's just quite a nice, also easy to pick up and play, and yeah, also good to kill time. You know, you can play either a little 5-minute game, and it's just cool to play as. It feels almost like, well, you are playing as the Pokemon, so it's a bit different instead of turn-based combat. They've made a quite unique and exciting combination of like your I do like League of Legends and stuff, but I don't always have time for like a full 45 to however many minute match. So this is a great one for me at least, and yeah, just the potential that it has as well is quite exciting. I think it's yeah.
Did you see that they announced Decidueye as the next character?
No, I didn't, but I think we did speak about those rumors a few weeks
Yeah.
ago, and I think that was one of the ones that were rumored to be adding.
I think it was like 4 weeks ago we talked and we were like, there's a rumor. The rumors right now are Greedent, Decidueye, and someone else. And right now
There
we're
was
2 for 3.
yeah. So it sounds like those rumors were quite accurate. That's quite an exciting one. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try this UI out.
I know I've talked about this on the podcast before about how I was a little burnt out on Pokemon Unite. I put 70 hours into that first season, and then I just played maybe 2 hours of season 2 and couldn't get into it. Decidueye, though, based off what I've seen of like how he plays with his like range attacks and his flying ability, we were talking about him being a hybrid of like Talonflame and Venusaur, and it kind of seems like that's what he's going to be like. So I might hop back in for that. Noah, have you played much Pokemon Unite?
I haven't. I think I have a friend that has it. I really haven't experienced it.
Yeah, it's a free download. If you're ever bored one night and just looking for a couple hours to kill, I think it's worth checking out for sure. The barrier of entry isn't too thick. They'll run you through tutorials before they throw you into an actual online game, which is very handy. And just the amount of love they show the Pokemon franchise really shines through. Like small details like Easter eggs, character animation. I just really enjoy the love they put into the game and the franchise itself.
Yeah, I definitely think if you're a fan, you can try it out, and it's one of the most accessible Pokemon games ever, being on mobile devices as well. Not that I think that's the ideal way to play it. I prefer playing with a controller on my Switch, but I'm sure you can. I don't know. But yeah, definitely.
I'd also recommend playing on Switch. I know mobile is like a good way of doing it if you don't have the console, but if you have a pro controller or even like your Joy Cons, that's probably the best way of experiencing it. Noah, what is your number 2 favorite Pokemon game?
My number 2, believe it or not, is going to be Black and White 2. Yeah, so I was so critical of the Gen 5 games at the time, but going back and playing them again, they were so underrated. Like Team Plasma is the best antagonist of the Pokemon series. They have an actual logical reason for being what they are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, small detail. I'm not sure if you guys know this. So it was never officially confirmed, but people know that X and Y was in development prior to Gen 5. So what happened is they realized, well, what we theorize happened is when they realized that all the technological advances they were making in X and Y were going to take longer than a year to come out, and they kind of rushed to make the first Black and White games, and a lot of the stuff that was meant to go into X and Y went into Gen 5. So that's why a lot of it looks European, because it was originally supposed to be in France, like Team Plasma is knights and the legendaries are dragons. That's because it was, well, this is all theory. I shouldn't say it like it's facts. Like the theory is that was all meant to be in the French set, the place of the Kalos region. And there's even statues of Reshiram and Zekrom in, I think it's called Parfum Palace in Kalos. That's probably just because they were too lazy to change it.
Oh, wow. But you specifically said Black 2 and White 2. Is there something about the sequels that you think trump the original games? Because this is the only Pokemon generation with a sequel, correct? Like that I can think of.
Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are sort of sequels.
Yeah.
So yeah, but these are like written as sequels as well. So I guess it's just because like it was epic to play. It had a lot of cities, and the story moments were really epic. Like it was cool, and I feel that the first ones didn't really have quite as much of it.
Yeah, I similar to Diamond and Pearl, I missed Black and White when they came out originally, including the sequels. I actually have them on the shelf behind me, so maybe post Diamond and Pearl, I'll start scratching off more of those games I've missed from the series. But when I used to work at a used video game store, people used to always come in and tell me that Black 2 and White 2 have the best story in a mainline Pokemon game, which is obviously opinions and subjective, but that has never left me. And I always look at those games like I need to play these as soon as possible.
Yeah, I can't remember which ones I played. I think it could have been Black 2 and White 2. I was just playing it kind of in anticipation of X and Y. So I don't really, I kind of also go through these phases of, we spoke about Pokemon fatigue earlier. And so I played Gen 4, Gen 5. I was like, I'm done for now. But I did quite enjoy it, of course. The shiny X and Y, the new ones were much more interesting. So my playthrough, is limited.
Yeah, I'm going to play those soon. I think at this point, after I play Diamond and Pearl, those will be the only two I haven't played in the main series, the only generation I haven't interacted with. So I'd love to play those sooner than later. My number 2 favorite Pokemon game, I'm doing another spin-off. It's Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time and Darkness, the second one of these games. The first one is good and everything, but I think the second one just does everything so much better. From the writing to the characters to the story beats to even the gameplay. For those who don't know, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is the game where you play as the Pokemon. The story is that you're a human being who wakes up one day in the body of a Pokemon, and your journey is to try and find out why this happened and how do you get back to your human form. Explorers of Time and Darkness just has some really good characters and some really good moments that, like, I remember not playing a lot of, like, I don't want to say cinematic, but we'll say dramatic games as a kid. But there is like some heavy drama throughout this thing, including betrayals and like you thought your best friend was good, but now they're bad, and really good story beats that ties into the Pokemon lore and universe in really cool and neat ways. Um, like I said, I like that first one. Number 2, I think, is an almost perfect game in my opinion. It just like checks off all the boxes I look for in a video game, which is, humor, heart, characters, story, and good music. Mark, what is your favorite Pokemon game of all time? I'm curious.
Well, this might not be that surprising, but I'm going to go with Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Whichever one. I had Heart Gold, and to be honest, I think it's because one of the first Pokemon games I had access to was the Gold version. And I just think the remakes were very good and very faithful as well. They added, some of the Gen 4 stuff from Pearl and Diamond to it was my all-time favorite Pokemon game. So I just thought it was really cool that you could go back and explore the Johto region the Kanto region after you'd beaten the Elite Four. And to my knowledge, no Pokemon game has really allowed you to go explore an entire other region. And especially, if you follow the story from Blue, you can see how the Kanto region's changed and how things are a little bit different than when you last went there, and also being able to challenge like all those other bosses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's really cool. And not including Pikachu from Pokemon Yellow, is Heart Gold Soul Silver the first games that let you have your Pokemon walk behind you? I'm trying to remember if Pokemon Crystal let you do that, but I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I can't remember.
Noah?
Yeah, so they did a classic Nintendo / Game Freak test run of that in I think Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. I think it was all 3 of them, where there was something called, like, it was a park of some kind. It was in Harfoam City where you could have a Pokemon walk behind you. And from there, they decided, okay, we're just going to do this at all times in Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have Soul Silver and Heart Gold on the shelf behind me, I think. I had never gone through the remakes. I obviously love the originals quite a bit. That twist when you beat the game and then you find out you can go all the way back to Kanto and essentially play through a Kanto adventure. Like you said, Mark, no other Pokemon game has done that. Usually you beat the Elite Four, You roll credits and you're off to find a legendary or some other side missions, but that's kind of it. Where there's twice the amount of game in Soul Silver and Heart Gold, which is, if you're looking for entertainment, you probably get like almost a Shin Megami Tensei esque like 60 to 80 hours out of those games. I don't remember how
Yeah,
the
easily.
scaling works because when you beat the Johto Elite Four, your Pokemon must be pretty strong. So I don't remember how it scales. Like when you go to fight Brock, are his Pokemon like level 70? Do you remember? Or
I think they were a bit more challenging. I think around the level 50 to
Mhm.
speaking under correction.
Yeah.
But I don't think you just go around steamrolling them. They did have some stronger Pokemon, but I don't think it was all that challenging. It was just cool to see Brock and Misty and fight the old crowd. Just challenge those old jibs again.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great pick, and I would love to go through and play them again because I remember some things, but it's almost a little foggy, my memories of playing through like the originals and some of Soul Silver. So I'd love to go back and play those again. Noah, what is your number one pick for your favorite Pokemon game?
My number one pick is Pokemon Emerald. I think a lot of people pick that one because Hoenn is, in my opinion, the best region of Pokemon. Gen 3 was really probably the best generation, at least in my opinion. Lots of new Pokemon, a lot of them being water type, but still lots of new ones, and they're cool. Like a lot of cool ones. Like so many people go with Breloom when they're playing through. I did. So yeah, hopefully when I get my current Pokemon off of the remake, I'll go through, or I'll just take Emerald out and do it all again. So yeah, and Rayquaza is awesome. Sapphire and Ruby don't have like their story is so like shortened compared to what you get in Emerald. You get that whole scene where Rayquaza roars and sends the two of them back to their rightful domains, and it's this classic mythological emphasis on the atmosphere representing order and everything beneath being chaotic. It's a cool play on a real concept.
Seems like we lost Noah, unfortunately. But what I've always heard about Pokemon Emerald from people who are fans of it is that the content they added to the original game just improves the overall experience, which you can't say for most. Like I'd say even Pokemon Crystal, it's still a fun version of that of Silver and Gold, but it doesn't add as much context or as much story as Emerald does. Welcome back, Noah.
Yeah. Thanks. Nice to be back.
Yes. So we were kind of talking about like how the extra content in Emerald improves the original games because you were saying how they're pretty short and the story isn't really the core part of Ruby and Sapphire, but Emerald really enhances that or brings it up to a next level.
Yeah, and I don't remember if you could catch the Reggies, like Regice, Regirock, and Registeel, and Regigigas, and the others, but I know you could in Emerald. That's the
Mhm.
one where you could have all three of the main legendaries, and there were a lot of like events and the catchable ones on the side. I remember like it was one of my favorite things to use that weather station to track where Kyogre and Groudon would be catchable.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah. No, I really like a lot of the Gen 3 Pokemon, which Ruby and Sapphire is not mine. So here's kind of my chance to talk about it. I really like the Pokemon from Gen 3, from the legendaries to even like a cast form and some of like the more weird Pokemon they created in that era. Who's your go-to starter in Ruby Sapphire, Noah?
That's tough. Usually, my starter is dependent on what I'm planning to catch.
Mm,
I'd have to uh, see. I know I have a Blaziken that if I were to play it again, I'd probably try to pick Mudkip
Mudkip.
against Swampert.
Yeah, that's my go-to. What about you, Mark? Do you have a go-to Gen 3 starter?
I think when I played it, I went with Torchic as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, I tend to always like go for the fire types because maybe just from that experience where they were really difficult to get in Sinnoh. But yeah, hasn't been as bad lately, I guess.
Yeah. Well, to wrap up, I have my number one here, and it's very similar to Mark's number one, except I just chose the base version of Pokemon Silver. And that's more so not. I know Soul Silver is objectively a better experience and a more modern experience, but the nostalgia I have for original Pokemon Silver, like one of my earliest memories is being a kid and my mom being like, I'm going to Walmart to buy you the new Pokemon game. And just like me sitting at the table, looking out the window for like an hour and a half, waiting for her to get home. And I remember like getting the box, like it's such a distinct memory in my brain that I love Silver so much. And that first time I beat it and found out I could go to Kanto and that there's even, because this is before the internet, right? This is before that was common knowledge. That was a thing you just found out on your own or somebody during recess told you. So there's a lot of magic in that Pokemon Silver experience to me that like gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Noah, any thoughts on the
Yeah.
OG Gen 2 games?
Yeah, so I want to say, Kyle, right now that's me waiting for the FedEx truck to bring my brilliant pearl. Like, hey, come on, everyone else got it.
You're just looking at the blinds, just like eyes peering through.
I didn't really get into like for me, platinum was my first, so Gen 2 was kind of far back for me to go buy an old Game Boy game for it wouldn't have been that expensive at the time, but yeah, I didn't
Mhm.
really play any of those.
Yeah. And even like talking about memories, I'm not sure, like maybe Mark, did you have an original Game Boy back in the day, like a Game Boy Color?
I did not own one, but one
No.
of my friends did, so I would always borrow her Game Boy and play at home.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I definitely also have good memories. Well, she had the gold version that I played,
Mhm.
and yeah, it was like you said, there was that magic to it. This was the first time a new Pokemon game had come out, and I was a huge fan of Pokemon, and also yeah, that magic of wow, there's like 100 new Pokemon to discover,
Mhm.
and it was a real great time.
Yeah. Going back to like the Game Boy, I remember like being a kid and I had one of those worm lights that you had to put over your Game Boy screen so you could actually see what was happening, especially for Game Boy Advance because the screen was not backlit whatsoever. So I remember being a kid in my room and my parents were always like, no Game Boy, go right to bed. But of course, being the rebel I was always like laying on my side. And whenever I heard a creak on the floorboard, I'd throw the Game Boy under the pillow, pretend to be asleep. All right, the creak's gone. Time to play some more Pokemon Silver. And of course, this is an era where everything was AA batteries. So the light would start flashing that the batteries were going to die. I'm like, no, I got to beat this gym. I got to do everything right now before my Game Boy dies. And another thing as well, like just talking about the nostalgia, my brother had gold. So I got silver, he got gold. We had one of the old school link cables to trade and battle. And these were very sensitive devices that, like, if you wanted to trade, you had to put both your Game Boys down, link cables, and do not touch the link cable, or else that trade is not going through, and you have to wait like 10 minutes for the Game Boy to reset. So it's something I played by myself, something I played with family. I made my parents watch the Johto animated TV series when it came out. So just everything about Gen 2 and Pokemon Silver. And I love Lugia. I'll also shout out Pokemon 2000, the movie.
Yeah, that was a
Like,
great movie.
yeah. I actually just watched it again like 3 or 4 months ago, just out of nostalgia. It holds up. The music, the story, the little short movie with Pikachu and Pichu in the big tree trying to save it from a storm. Everything in that era of Pokemon is almost like just peak to me. And that's why Pokemon Silver is my number one pick. Any last thoughts on any honorable mentions you guys have? Anything that almost made your list but not quite, Noah?
I guess I considered putting the first black and whites on there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, that's the one where I was like everyone was super critical at first, especially because of that map. Like it's
Yeah.
the circle. it, yeah, but yeah, looking back, that was a much better game than I realized at the time.
Yeah. What about you, Mark? Was there something that almost made your list? If this was a top four, it'd be on there.
Well, I also considered uh, going with the original gold and silver, but I also have very good memories of X and Y. It's a generation I really enjoyed, and
Mm-hmm.
especially with like the emphasis on beauty and the being able to roller skate around and stuff like that. There was some real like yeah, I was super excited for those. So, and it was the first time I'd been excited for a Pokemon game in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quite a special one for me. Almost made the list, but I didn't want to go with too many mainline titles.
Yeah,
be
I
honest.
really like X and Y. X and Y was my return to Pokemon after not playing since Ruby and Sapphire. Like I said, I missed Diamond Pearl, Black and White. And it was the game that came with my 3DS. So not only was it this new Pokemon game for me to play, but it was on this new hardware that could, run a much better looking Pokemon game than I could have ever imagined as a kid.
Yeah, I actually bought a 3DS to play Pokemon X and
Yeah.
Y.
It almost made my list, but I don't think it's a top 3 Pokemon game for me. I really love the original Pokemon Snap. I think it's still kind of surprising. I have the new one, and I don't know why it didn't grab me as much as I hoped it would. It's a really good game, just maybe not what I wanted from a Pokemon Snap sequel. But the N64 one will always hold a place in my heart as like a game you could rent on the weekend and beat within 24 hours. It's a really short experience. But that is a wrap on our favorite Pokemon games from the three of us. This is the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening. We talked about a bunch of games, the news, and of course, our favorite Pokemon games. We are the KeenGamer podcast. If you have not been to the website, please check it out. We got great reviews, opinions. We cover movies and TV as well. So, Noah, any last minute plugs before we say goodbye?
No, not that I could think of.
Yeah. Mark, what about yourself?
Nah, not today.
All right. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. It was a great show. We'll be back next week. I have a couple topics in mind, so I'm going to kind of take some time to decide what we will do. And that is a wrap for today. Thank you for listening, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Thanksgiving if you're living in America, and we will talk to you next time. Bye, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Bye.